Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Guys, what was that? What was that? So, the Chicago Bears, with a blocked field goal from Josh Blackwell at the last possible second, or not the last possible second, the last possible moment that they could have stepped in and had a huge play. Josh Blackwell blocked the field goal. The Bears win 25-24 in probably the most disgusting win of all time. Am I being is hyperbolic? Maybe, but oh my God, guys, we're so back. Welcome everyone to the latest edition of Wrap It Up. I'm Jacob Infante here. I'm live here streaming on Twitter/X and on the Second City Gridiron YouTube and Facebook page. Jesus, guys. There's going to be a lot to talk about. There's a lot to take away from this game. A lot of good, a lot of bad. But, I mean, what a win. What a win. I think that so many things went poorly on the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball as well. Don't get me wrong. But it all worked out in the end, and the Chicago Bears are 2-2 going into the bye week. Week 5, Chicago's at 500, and that's about all you can ask for. I think with how wacky, how weird that game was, nothing short of unbelievable. So I don't even know where to start. Truthfully, I'm going to go straight to the comments because we've got a decent amount of you flowing in here in the live stream. Let's see. Steve Infante, let's go with like 12 O's. That's my dad, for those of you who don't know. Jacob, how open is the door? From my boy Maddie. I've never called him Maddie once in my life. But he says, how open is the door? A lot more open than I thought it was going to be. With like a minute left in that game. I mean, you come out right out of the gate. The Bears they give up a pretty good kick return to Dylan Laube of the Raiders right out of the gate. The Raiders are able to move the ball down the field. Kevin Byard, who came through unbelievably clutch all game, had 2 interceptions. Whoa, there's my cat. For those of you watching the stream, watching the video, just jumped away. But the Raiders do a decent job of moving the ball down the field, but Kevin Byard with the stand on 3rd down, 3rd and 2, I believe it was, and then Josh Blackwell coming in off the edge to block that Daniel Carlson field goal to pick up the win is so unbelievably crucial. So now you go into, I mean, that's a game where, I mean, admittedly one where they probably should have won, but I think if you're going to make the playoffs, which there's a long way to go before I feel confident saying they're going to do that. If you're going to make the playoffs, that's a game you need to win, because with how difficult the NFC North is, you need to win as many games outside of the division as possible. So every win's a big one. So how open is the door? Huge. Dan Rogers says, don't you ever change the O-line. Ozzie and Theo are for real. And I gotta give that duo credit. I think Theo Benedette was struggling significantly at right tackle. I mean, especially against Max Crosby, but just in general, when he was on the right side, things were atrocious. I've always generally viewed him more as a guard just because he doesn't have very long arms, and that limits kind of, his reach. But they moved him over to left tackle. Braxton Jones, people were saying that he might have been hurt, but there's, conflicting reports on that. I think Adam Johns of CHGO said that Braxton was just straight up benched. And to their credit, I mean, once they made that switch and once they put Ozzie Trapillo in at right tackle, the pass protection was a lot better. So I got to give those guys a lot of credit. Was it a perfect game from the offensive line? No. I mean, I think there were a lot of times Caleb was running for his life, especially early on. I mean, Max Crosby was a one-man wrecking crew. He deserves a lot of credit for how he performed. I think that he single-handedly like he was a game wrecker. There's no other way to put it. And I think that he probably swayed the outcome of the game like a good 5 points or something like that. You know, it would have, the Raiders wouldn't have been nearly as close if they had just some league average edge rusher instead of, you know, Max Crosby terrorizing Chicago's offensive line on a snap by snap basis. But kudos to the young guys at tackle, both generally pretty inexperienced, but a lot to be excited about. Matt in the Twitter chat also says, cut Kmet though, no cap. So I think that's something that in the mix of all this happiness, in the mix of all this, you know, joy and hoopla or whatever the fuck kind of words you want to use for it. Cole Kmet was terrible. Cole Kmet was terrible on Sunday. If his PFF grade is anything above like a 30, I'm probably going to set my balls on fire. But I don't get it really, because I mean, the Bears, what they were able to do today, in spite of some of their top paid offensive playmakers not doing much of anything, is genuinely impressive. Cole Kmet, I think it might come out to like 3 blocks and then 2 penalties, or 3 drops and then 2 penalties. I think that's what it's going to come out to. I don't want to rewatch the tape of that first half, but I'm going to have to, because you can check out my Patreon, and my tape studies are going to be up there. But anyway, Kmet just had I don't know if it was a mental lapse. I don't know necessarily if it was just he's, you know, physically incapable of this. I don't know. But I will say I was a little bit skeptical about the Bears going tight end with the 10th overall pick. And Matt Urich from I think he's at 24/7 Sports still. He tweeted something out very similar where it's like, I didn't really love the Bears going Colston Loveland at 10. I didn't really love the Bears going tight end at 10. But seeing how Cole Kmet played today, I understand. And now I can feel a lot more confident saying, all right, Loveland, I mean, he was a close call to play in week 4, didn't play. But now he's got the whole bye week to rest. He'll be back. Presumably in week 6, barring some sort of setback. And I think he should outsnap Cole Kmet. I think if that's what you want to do, send a message of accountability. You start Colston Loveland at tight end in week 6 against Washington, 100%. So that's frustrating. DeAndre Swift, I mean, the rushing touchdown was huge. I got to give him props for that. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, that absolutely wipes away every single bad thing that he did, every hole that he missed, every time he got tackled behind the line of scrimmage. But the rushing touchdown was huge. DJ Moore didn't really do a ton. He was all right, but again, not what you want out of someone you're paying that much money. As Dansby Henry Armstrong points out about Cole Kmet, going back to that, 85 yards lost due to his discrepancies. And that's jarring. I mean, especially in a game that ended up being so close. It's a miracle. It really is a miracle that the Bears came away with that win. But they did. Somehow, some way they did. And I'm so stoked about it. Let's see. Mikester in the YouTube chat on the Second City Gridiron YouTube channel says, nail biter for sure, LOL. Matt says, send Kmet to China. Holy shit. He's got to be brushing up on his Mandarin at some point, because that was a terrible performance. As JW also points out in the Twitter chat, Tyreek Stevenson has stepped up big time this year, definitely deserves his flowers. I think that when you look at Tyreek Stevenson, the first 2 games were terrible. I mean, I think that's, pretty fair to say. Genuinely, when you're allowing a perfect 158.3 passer rating, you can't get any worse than that. But he had multiple pass deflections in last week's game in the win over Dallas, and he came away with an interception again in this game here against the Raiders. Geno Smith, by the way, threw 3 interceptions, only threw 98 passing yards. Granted, he had 2 touchdowns, but 11 for 18, 98 passing yards in total only, and 3 interceptions. I think that secondary deserves a lot of credit, especially considering Jalen Johnson's not there, especially considering Kyler Gordon's not there. For all the faults of the linebackers today, for all the faults of the defensive line, the secondary really stood out. So kudos to those guys. Kudos to Tyreek Stevenson as well. He's still got a lot to prove. I truly believe that. But I think that the last 2 weeks there's been a noticeable shift for sure in his preparation, in his route recognition. He seems a lot more prepared on a week-to-week basis than he did earlier in the season and than he did last year. I'm not in Hallis Hall. I'm not in those positional groups. I don't know for sure what's going on, but he seems like his intelligence is a lot better. And MCM Hero as well in the YouTube chat says Kevin Byard the third was amazing. Yes, Kevin Byard as well. 2 interceptions, both very similar. He was covering the underneath, shot downhill. I have to go back and check. I think they were both in routes, and Kevin Byard timed him perfectly, jumped the routes, and then made the play. I mean, he deserves a lot of credit, and he also had that huge 3rd and 2 stop. Ashton Genty ran all over this Bears defense. And right when it mattered most, they sent Byard downhill, put him in the box, and he was able to make the play and, secure the tackle. And then obviously the field goal block happened as well. So, and Lester Wiltfong, the boss at Windy City Gridiron, our knight in shining armor, says the Bears played bad, yet all 3 phases made plays at the end to get the W. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Look, was this a good game? No. Was this a good performance from the Bears? No. I'm not going to sit here and say that. A win's a win. I'll say that, and I guess if you use that argument, any win is a good performance. So much went wrong. So much went wrong for the Bears offense. So much went wrong for the Bears defense. Even the special teams was hit or miss. I mean, Torrey Taylor, he had 1 punt that was tremendous, one that bounced into the back of the end zone. The kickoff coverage right at the very end was very bad, but obviously the blocked field goal played in. So that's the perfect way to put it. All 3 phases made plays at the end to get the W. It wasn't pretty. One of the ugliest wins in recent memory. And as I'm checking, Lester tweeted that. So I'm gonna retweet that right now, Lester, actually, because that's a very good point. Shout out to him. Shout out to Lester. That's my guy. Mark in the Twitter chat, fade looks great. Thank you. I did something totally different. I had a wedding yesterday. I still was able to watch a ton of college football. Nobody cares about the fact that I was at a wedding yesterday. You want to talk about the Bears, but thank you for pointing out that my haircut looks good. I appreciate that. We Ready in the YouTube chat says Crosby got shut out in the second half. And I have to agree. I think it was extremely impressive the way that the Bears bounced back to neutralize Max Crosby. I mean, look, he was still able to make incredible plays. He was still able to make his presence felt. He still had another pass deflection in the second half. But you're right. The offensive line looked much better. Ozzie looked much more comfortable at right tackle than Theo did. Theo looked better at left tackle than Braxton Jones did, which is crazy to think about. I mean, maybe for some people it's not, because I know Braxton Jones is one of those super divisive players where you either think he's really good or you think he sucks. So I don't know, but I, for one, was surprised with how well Theo Benedict bounced back. He was terrible in the first half, and then once he made the switch from right tackle to left tackle, he looked a lot better. A couple of people are asking in the chat here, do you think they add any help over the bye week? Specifically, Dansby Henry Armstrong says Breece Hall to the Bears during the bye. I don't think they're going to trade for a running back. I mean, or at least I don't think they're going to trade for like a starting caliber running back. Maybe they'll bring in someone to contribute, someone who can factor into the rotation. I was intrigued by what I saw from Kyle Monangai in spurts. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to pay a significant amount of money, or at least a significant amount of draft capital to anybody in particular. I think they're going to want to see how these next few games go coming out of the bye week. Say if they beat Washington, they beat New Orleans. If they go 4-2 going into that Baltimore game, then maybe that starts to shift a little bit. Maybe they start to enter a little bit of a, more of like a buyer's mentality. Could be entirely possible. But I think at this stage, it's too early to tell. And it remains to be seen truly if this team is going to be like a high level, like a playoff contender. There's still a lot that they have to prove. Chris Armstrong in the YouTube chat says, I didn't get to watch most of the game. Is Jones hurt or benched? By all accounts, it seems like he was benched. We'll see what happens when Ben Johnson has his post-game conference. I'm sure somebody's going to ask about it. Someone's going to, do their, little shindig, whatever the fuck. I don't know. I think he was benched though, because it sounded like he had his. I think I read somewhere that he had his helmet in his hand, like he was holding his helmet along the sideline, so like he still had it on him. Whether or not that means anything, I don't know. I do want to give a shout out though. Belts MC in the YouTube chat says, here in Spain it's 1 a.m., but man, what a way to win a game. I don't know how I'm going to sleep. Adja Jack. I think that's a ha ha ha. Love you all, bear down, baby. Hell yeah. Adja Jack right back at you. And I appreciate you tuning in. It's 1 a.m. Shout out to everybody who's listening and everybody in particular. We're here on the live stream right now, over 5,000 people tuning in live, 17 minutes into the show. That truly means a lot to me. Especially if it's, very late Sunday, early Monday morning for anybody here watching internationally. So appreciate you guys for sure. I think a couple people have brought this up as well too. MCM Hero says last year we would have lost this game. Ben Johnson is showing promise. Can't read. Fuck. And then a couple other people as well saying that a W, the Bears would not have won this game in years past. And I'm tempted to agree. Honestly, I think you watch, especially with Eberflus last year, some of the, horrific late game management. And that's not to say Ben Johnson was perfect by any means, but they looked a lot more competent. They looked a lot more comfortable, right? And that's really encouraging to see the Bears finally on the end of a close, nail-biting game in the fourth quarter, and they pick up the win. I don't think that this is a game they would have won with Matt Eberflus. I don't think that this is a game they would have won with Shane Waldron or Luke Getsy or maybe even Thomas Brown as the offensive play caller. I really don't think that's the case here with Alan Williams calling defensive plays or dreaming about sending his penis to somebody in Hallis Hall. Yeah. My cat didn't like that. I don't know if you can hear my cat was meowing right as I made the Alan Williams sex pest joke. So Gnocchi's not a big fan of that. He's a good audience, but he tells me if I'm doing a shit job or not. Ryan Drosty here from Bears Over Beers on the Second City Gridiron YouTube channel. Bears win. Jacob is wearing a Rhea Ripley shirt. I'm feeling good. Time to pour a nice drink. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah, Ryan. So, yeah, my Rhea Ripley shirt, mommy's always on top. I'm not going to pull it up all the way because you guys are going to see my fat belly, and I think that that's probably enough to get me banned here on YouTube. I don't want to do that. But there's a lot to be excited about, I think. And now the tone going into the bye week is significantly different. It's not, hey, we need to get our shit together or the season's over. It's more of like we need to get our shit together to keep this momentum going. And I know that either way, Ben Johnson's going to be hard on these guys. He's going to be pretty, pretty hard on him just generally by the way that he interacts with the media. I mean, that halftime interview was pretty funny, where the sideline reporter on CBS is like, "You need to change what you're doing," and he's like, "You think so?" And then just like gave her like the craziest like death stare. I think Ben Johnson is genuinely psychotic, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think that there's a screw loose there. He's absurd, but I love him. I love him all the way. I think that, again, like I said, they don't win that game without Ben Johnson. Infante, I love you. Thank you. Shout out Hal's Beer Hall as well. Izzy Suing says, "No way you're a real person. That's wild." Yeah, I'm a real person. Thought you were a Dove Kleiman. Oh, God. That's probably the worst thing that you could say to somebody. I'm I'm just joking. I'm grateful that you're here watching the stream, Izzy. Thank you for that. I'm a real person. I am a living, breathing fat guy, and here I am. My father, Steve Infante, shout out to Dad, shout out to Steve. Offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game. Defensive player of the game, I'm going to go Kevin Byard. I think I can say that pretty quickly. Just the how prepared he was, how quickly he diagnosed the route concepts, and how he was able to go through Gino's own progressions and run the route honestly better than the receiver himself. Was really impressive to me. And especially for a guy who's, he's north of 30, he's been in the league for a long time, maybe not as fast as he was a couple of years ago. Still making plays off of sheer, not just intelligence, but off of motor too. Like, he works hard, and like he's made his money in the NFL, right? We're talking, this is a guy who was a Pro Bowler, all pro with the Titans, made a lot of money at his peak. He's still making a lot of money. So in theory, it could be like, just here to collect a paycheck. But Kevin Byard plays hard, and I think that that's going to get him a pretty good contract this coming off season as well. So the Bears have that decision to make at the safety position. We'll figure it out. Kevin Byard's the defensive player of the game for me. Offensive player of the game is a little bit tougher. I truthfully can't comment one way or the other about individual offensive linemen, because again, that's more of something once the all-22, once the game film comes out, I go back and check because I just more watch the offensive line as an individual, or as a group necessarily. But Roma Dunze, I guess, is going to be my guess. So Roma Dunze is offensive player of the game. Had another touchdown. It was 4 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Olamide Zaccheaus as well had 5 catches on 6 targets, 41 yards. He wasn't super flashy, but, every time that Caleb targeted him out of the slot, he was pretty consistently able to come down with the ball. And I think that there's a lot of value in a player like that. I think that Zaccheaus so far, he's looked like the wide receiver too, honestly, on this Bears team. I mean, he had more targets than DJ Moore did. I think he performed better than DJ Moore. I think that he played harder than DJ Moore. Would love to see that corrected. Obviously, DJ's been an incredible player, but this year I don't think that he's been playing at his highest level. So honorable mention is Zaccheaus, but Roma Dunze is my offensive player of the game, and Kevin Byard is defensive player of the game. Let's see. And Izzy as well saying my respect level just went up 1,009. Thank you. I appreciate that. Just B-Pie, I want to suck off my own ego a little bit here, saying you've become my favorite Bears reporter. I'm just a guy who appreciates Bears coverage that isn't constantly negative but realistic. And thank you. I appreciate that, because I'll say there's a lot to be negative about usually with the Bears. I mean, with how bad they've been the last few years, like it's easy to fall into that trap. It's also easy to fall into the trap of, the Bears won. Everything's sunshine and rainbows, guys. We're going to the playoffs. Well, we're so back, full send, everything like that. And I know a lot of people do like that. They like, like there are content creators, they do kind of lean on that, like that overly optimistic approach. And all the power to them, like there's some people doing really good work and succeeding off of that. But I think that I like to be fair. I'm negative where negative calls for it and positive when positive calls for it. I hope that's reflected in the way I talk about this game because it's a win. And above all else, I'm feeling good about it. Still a lot to improve, still a lot to clean up on both sides of the ball, even on special teams. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. But the fact that the Bears were able to pull away from this game, it signals something to me. And it's that this is a better coach team, even with all the, even with all the penalties. I think that you have more competent minds calling the shot. And I'll say here, I'm going to tweet this out shortly, but I want to give individual shout outs to, like I said, Kevin Byard, Tyreek Stevenson, Josh Blackwell, Cairo Santos. Those 4 players, I think, played the biggest difference in the Bears beating the Raiders today. And maybe there are more. There are definitely more, but those 4 in particular, I look at and I say they stepped up when it mattered most. So, shout out to them. We're going to take a quick break here for the podcast. When we come back, we're going to dig into a few more of the comments here, and then we are going to go into Jacob Infante's happy ending, where I will splooge my positivity all over your face. So stick around. We'll be right back. And for those of you who are watching live, don't worry. I'm just I'm doing this as like an ad break for our YouTube. So just shut up. All right. Just shut up and just enjoy it. Okay. To these difference makers. See, this is something I don't understand how people can do it. I don't understand how people can like tweet and live stream at the same time. Like it's insane. I mean, this is a one man show over here. It's pronounced Beppy. Sorry, Beppy. Did I say Beepie? Did I say Beppy? Beppy. Okay. And we're back. Welcome to Wrap It Up. Welcome back to Wrap It Up with Jacob Infante here. We're breaking down the Chicago Bears win over the Las Vegas Raiders 25-24. The Bears going into the bye week now with a 500 record. 2-2 is obviously a pretty big step up from 1-3. The defense definitely stepped up. And I think that anytime that you can have 3 interceptions, that's going to help you out significantly. Now I go into that mode of what now, so it's bye week. It's going to be the bye week in week 5 here coming up. And the Bears have the Washington Commanders in week 6. That's going to be that's a Monday night game. That's a Monday night game on ABC, 7:15 Central Time. And I think that I'm assuming Jaden Daniels is going to be healthy by then. Marcus Mariota's played the last 2 games for the Commanders due to, Jaden being injured. But the Commanders are 2-2 as well, and they have the Chargers this coming week after this game, after having lost to the Falcons here. So I think it's a winnable game. Obviously, I look at that and say, look, the Bears came one generationally poorly defended Hail Mary away from beating the Commanders last year. Who's not to say that they can beat them again? And to that, I'll say I think that this is a better Commanders team than the team that they faced last year, especially when you see what they did down the stretch last season as they picked things up and obviously made it to the NFC Championship game. And then obviously the fact that it's at Washington that, is going to put things in, the Commanders' favor a little bit as well. But this isn't a game where you can step in and say, oh, the Bears have no chance. The Bears are probably going to lose this game. I don't think you can say that even, where I feel that way probably with like the Eagles and Ravens and stuff like that. But I do think Washington's a winnable game. They're going to have to be smart in the bye week. They're going to have to be prepared. They're going to have to find a way to cut down on penalties. Hopefully having a couple guys healthy. Kyler Gordon potentially would be huge. Colston Loveland potentially would be huge. Darnell Wright will probably be back for that game, knock on wood. Grady Jarrett, TJ Edwards, they had a handful of starters out, and the Bears were still able to come away with the win. So this bye week comes at a really good time, I believe. Looking here in the Twitter chat, William says, the Bears tonight with a nail-biting win. We definitely have to find out something. Bless me. Thank me. Definitely have to find out something to do at running back because Swift is a liability. Also, the offensive line is the fourth most expensive. It doesn't show. Hell, they look better once Braxton and Wright got injured, but great hard-fought win, bear down. Sneeze is coming. Oh, yeah. Guys, nobody blessed me here in the Twitter or the YouTube chat or even Facebook for that matter. So that hurts. But either way, yeah, I think the offensive line, there's a lot that needs to be cleaned up. I think that Drew Dalman, at least to this point, as a pass protector, hasn't been quite what the doctor ordered. I'd argue that things have been a little bit underwhelming, at least out of him. But I'll give them credit. Caleb was only sacked. Oh, thank you. My father and Graham Mozzie in the YouTube chat both say bless you for me sneezing. Thank you. Steve Anderson as well. Bless you, Jacob. Thank you. That's what I love to see. I appreciate you guys for blessing me. I don't know why I'm sneezing so much, but I'll give the offensive line credit. They stepped up in the second half for sure. Part of that came down to, I think it was more of a focus on Max Crosby, more, double teaming. I'd have to go back and check, but I want to say there was more focus on double teaming Max Crosby. And I mean, to that same point, I think that Theo at left tackle outperformed Braxton at left tackle, and Ozzie at right tackle outperformed Theo at right. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. Definitely a lot of pressure, especially early on. That Vegas defensive line was terrorizing Caleb Williams. Even in the second half, sometimes there were plays where he was running for his life, but I got to give him credit, man. I got to give him credit the way that he was able to extend those plays and keep the play alive. A less physically talented quarterback would have been sacked a lot more. So kudos to that. And MCM Hero in the YouTube chat says, don't need to bless you. You are the blessing for showing us your beautiful face. Thank you. That's so kind. I might come. I appreciate that. But Caden in the chat here says, Caleb's performance today as well just continues to have me excited. He will finish the year as a top 10 quarterback at minimum at this rate. So I think that's a bit bold, but at the same time, I don't hate it. I don't think it's entirely impossible. Would I bet money on Caleb Williams being a consensus top 10 quarterback by the end of the year? Probably not. But top half of the league, absolutely. I think they've shown a lot of progress. There's been a lot of development in these last couple of weeks in particular. So I think that his, poise in that final, that eventual game-winning drive was impressive to me. And look, there's a lot to clean up. There's a lot that Caleb needs to improve on. I think they're a good handful of throws. I mean, in particular, I think it was 3 passes deflected at the line of scrimmage. That's something that needs to improve. It was a problem the previous 2 games, and it was a serious issue that held the Bears passing attack back against the Raiders. But I think that there's positive to take away from it. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Caleb absolutely killed it, but he stepped up. He stepped up in the clutch. He got better. He improved, and he was able to bail the Bears offense out a couple times. Again, still, there are some instances of inaccuracy. There are some instances of the pass deflections being an issue. I think that the pass to Roma Dunze being triple covered and throwing it too high was questionable. Admittedly, I think the Bears are lucky that it didn't turn into anything bigger than that. But anywho, Juice Locky in the Twitter chat says, Caleb is not that good. He is fine. I think he's fine. I think that's a fair way to say it. As my dog now is going nuts. That's what happens when you have two animals. Actually, three animals, because this guy, you never know with this the Jakester is a little rascal over here. Fucking, I don't know. It's not funny. It's not a good bit. I don't know, but I think saying Caleb is fine. I think that's fair. I think that's a totally fair take. What's impressing me the most is the fact that this Bears offense looks competent. They're putting up points and they're succeeding when it matters most, more often than not now. And Caleb is still clearly a long way to go in his development. There's still clearly things that he can get better at and that he can improve at. He's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think the offense, the fact that they're getting points, the fact that they're showing these flashes and now have won 2 straight games, beating the Cowboys, beating the Raiders, there's reason to be optimistic. And I think right now Caleb is solid. I don't think he's great, but I think he's solid, and I think that's a valuable thing to have at his position. But yeah, and I think as the more reps he gets, the more games he plays, the more he gets to work with Ben Johnson, the better off he's going to be. With Jaden Daniels be back for the game in 2 weeks? I think so. I haven't admittedly looked too deep into that. But I think from what it sounds like is they're, slowly but surely ramping him up. I think 2 weeks from now, Jaden Daniels should be in that game against the Bears in week 6. Steven Rivera as well says Ozzie Trapillo is the answer. First impact with the NFL versus Crosby. Not bad. And I'm with you. I think I'll have to go back and check. Obviously, from an individual perspective, once the all-22 hits, I'll have a better understanding of, who on the offensive line performed well. On some of those plays where Max Crosby wreaked havoc, what exactly went wrong there. So I'll have a better answer for you in a couple days. But upon first glance, I thought he was solid for a rookie who was thrown into the starting lineup in the middle of the game. It was encouraging, and I do think that it's not a coincidence that as soon as Ozzie came in at right tackle, then Theo switched over to left, where he seemed to be more comfortable. The offensive line as a whole performed well. So my father is here as well. Steve Infante, when Darnell comes back, what do we do? Move him to left tackle. Ozzie and Darnell should be on the field. See, it's interesting. I think I wouldn't be shocked if the Bears eventually move Darnell Wright over to left tackle. I think there's certainly a possibility it happens, right? I just don't think it happens in the middle of the season. I think that with a player like that, you're going to ramp up with it over the course of, weeks and months over the offseason, prepare his footwork, prepare his, from a technical perspective, obviously my dad knows this because he knows ball. But, generally speaking too, your technique, your footwork, your weight distribution, your hands, they're different moving from one side to the other. So I think they stick with Darnell Wright at right tackle once he comes back. Maybe they do move him to left tackle when he comes back, though. Darnell and Ozzie, it would be encouraging to have 2 young tackles in the starting lineup with that upside. So we are going to move into the final segment of our show. It is Jacob Infante's happy ending. So open your mouths and close your eyes, because here comes Jacob Infante's big surprise. I don't know. I'm not coming up with these ahead of time. You're seeing my mind process in real time. I mean, it's a very slow process, but I get there eventually. Uh, I'll close out by echoing kind of what I've been saying in, one way or another. This was an ugly win. This was a really ugly win. I'm not going to say the Bears performed all that well. I just think that they stepped up when it mattered most, and they took advantage of the situations they were given, and they stepped up in a big way. Again, shout out to Josh Blackwell for that huge field goal block. I mean, literally saved the game for Chicago. He deserves all the credit in the world, and I think that he should be able to go out to eat for free anywhere in Chicago for the rest of the year. So shout out to Josh Blackwell. But the fact that the Bears were able to win this game despite playing so inconsistently, I think says a lot about this team. Where last year you see there were a lot of close games, but they just kept finding new ways to lose. This time around, though, the Bears found a way to win, and it feels good to finally be on the receiving end of one of those. I don't want to call it lucky breaks because that kind of, plays down the hard work that all these guys have and that they put into this. But like one of those like coin flip games, it feels good. It feels good just to finally win one, you know? So it feels good. It feels really good. Now the Bears have a well-timed bye week. They have a couple starters who are injured right now, who in theory should be healthy to play in 2 weeks against the Commanders. You have a big game there, Monday Night Football. You have a lot of time to prepare for that game individually. If you win that game, I think that this game kept the season alive for sure. But I think if you win Washington, then it becomes a serious all right, we're cooking with something here, and it's going to happen this year. I mean, again, anything can happen in the NFL. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, if you beat the Commanders, you're going to make the playoffs or you're going to win the NFC North. I'm not going to say that, but they've won the games we expected them to win, right? I think a lot of people had the Bears 2-2 in the bye at this stage going into the bye week, and they're 2-2. It happened in a really, really weird way to get here, but the Bears are staying par for the course. And now the Commanders, it's a big game. It's a big game 2 weeks from now, but they have a bye week. They have a lot of time to prepare. And I trust Ben Johnson that he is going to get the guys in line. He's going to make sure that they're prepared. They understand their assignments. They understand what Washington's bringing to the table this year. I think I accidentally turned off the happy ending banner. I need to show you all that this is what's going on. So I know it's not all that big, but you need to know that it's coming. But anyway, feels really good. Feels really good right now. The vibes are high in Chicago, in Chicagoland, in the Bears community. A lot of room to improve. It's an ugly, ugly, ugly win. But in the NFL, you take a win every single time you can get it. So the Bears are 2-2 after their 25-24 win over the Las Vegas Raiders. Thank you all for tuning into this live stream, for jumping in here on the post-game stream so soon after the game ended. We're here at least, live, a little under 45 minutes into the stream. Over 7,000 people have tuned in. So thank you guys for that sincerely. Thank you to everybody who's been, watching on Twitter/X, on the Second City Gridiron YouTube and Facebook pages as well. Make sure to like and subscribe those as well for more of my beautiful face, but also just our whole Second City Gridiron team. They do a lot of tremendous work. A lot of, a lot of just strong insight that comes from various different angles, whether it's interviewing some of the best in the business, interviewing people, telling their stories of these players, these Bears guys that are, making plays on Sundays. And then just talking and breaking down the game, previewing the game. I recognize I'm probably biased, but I think we have the best group of Bears content creators out there right now. Between they're all the written people at Windy City Gridiron and the audio people at Second City Gridiron. They do tremendous work. I'm grateful to be just a small part of that. So sincerely, thank you all for tuning in. This has been Jacob Infante. I just wrapped it and tapped it. I don't know if I like that as an ending. I don't know. We'll still figure that out. I'm still trying to come up with like a sexual pun to close this out, but Bears win. It's feeling good. Bears win week 4, 25-24 against the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. We're not going to do a post game next week, obviously, because it's the bye week. So we will see you in 2 weeks next Monday night when the Chicago Bears take on the Washington Commanders. Jeez. So this has been me, Jacob Infante. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bear.